They laughed at the craftsman from the South Side. They didn't know he was building their undoing. I still remember the way the light hit her perfect, tailored suit that day. It was early spring in Chicago, but the air in Reid & Associates felt like deep winter. Freezing. My name's Aiden Blackwood, and I build things. Always have. From the moment my grandpappy put a hammer in my hand in our little workshop on the South Side, I knew wood. I knew how it breathed, how it warped, how it could be coaxed into something beautiful. But that day, in that glass tower, it felt like the wood in my soul was about to splinter. She was Elara Reid, the architectural queen of the city's high-rise dreams. Sharp edges, sharper mind, and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She lived in a world of polished chrome and abstract concepts. Me, I lived in a world of sawdust, sweat, and the honest scent of pine. Our paths should never have crossed, but then came the Grand Centennial Project. A historic library, an impossible, intricate wooden ceiling. Everyone else, all the big-name firms, they'd thrown up their hands. Too complex, too costly, a nightmare. That's when my name, somehow, whispered its way into Elara's ivory tower. I still don't know who put it there. Maybe Old Man Henderson from the city council? A good soul who'd seen my work on the community center. I got the call, a stiff, formal invitation to discuss a unique opportunity. I figured, okay, a chance to show what a real craftsman can do. I walked into that meeting, my cleanest jeans and a plain tee, and the air just shifted, like a cold draft had swept through a perfectly heated room. Whispers, stifled giggles, eyes flicking over me, assessing, dismissing. I was an anomaly, a guy from the neighborhood workshop amidst a sea of bespoke suits and designer glasses. Elara, she was already set up. Her phone, sleek and expensive, aimed right at me. "Mr. Blackwood," she began, her voice like ice. "I'm recording this. When you fail, I want everyone to see what happens when someone tries to take a place that isn't theirs." That hit me, right in the gut. Not just the words, but the way she said them. Like I was dirt, like my very presence was an insult to her world. I'd faced tough crowds. I'd heard snide remarks about my humble origins my whole life. But this was different. This was public, premedicated humiliation. The blueprints were spread out, a dizzying tangle of lines and angles for this bespoke wooden ceiling. It was a beast of a design, pure Elara, beautiful in its audacity, but practically impossible. The kind of thing that makes you scratch your head and say, how the heck are they going to build that? I saw the complexity, sure, but I also saw something else. A flicker of vulnerability. Maybe a hidden challenge, a puzzle I was uniquely suited to solve. My hands, calloused and worn, they ached to touch the wood, to feel the grain, to understand its secrets. "You have until Friday," Elara announced, her voice cutting through the tense silence. 5 days to do what our expert team couldn't do in 3 weeks. She paused, then twisted the knife. "And when you fail, I want everyone to understand why some people need to accept their limitations." I just stood there, quiet. My mind was already racing, seeing the interlocking patterns, imagining the jigs I'd need. I didn't need to shout, didn't need to argue. My hands, my work, they'd do the talking. But I could feel that old, familiar anger simmering inside. The kind that had bubbled up when Lena, my wife, my amazing Lena, had passed. The hospital had told me they'd done everything they could, but there was always that nagging thought, that quiet insinuation that if we'd had the cash for a fancy private clinic, maybe, just maybe. This felt like that. The same kind of dismissal, the same cold judgment based on something completely outside of my control. "Pathetic," Elara whispered, loud enough for me to hear, her camera still rolling. "He doesn't even know where to start." I could hear the snickers from her fancy colleagues, the soft clicks of phones as they filmed their own versions of my downfall. I saw Marcus, her eager assistant, muttering something about me not even finishing high school, trying to compete with real professionals.
My daughter, Jasmine, she'd been through enough. I wasn't going to let them put her through this, not again. But under all that public scorn, beneath the layers of their judgment, I felt a calm. A dangerous calm, maybe. It wasn't the calm of surrender. It was the calm of someone who'd seen things others hadn't, who understood that true value wasn't found in a degree on a wall, but in the grit and genius of hands that knew their craft. I just nodded, a small, almost imperceptible nod. Let 'em laugh. Let 'em record. Every single smirk, every poisonous comment, every click of a camera, I was filing it away. Not just in my memory, but in a place where it would soon mean something concrete. They thought they were witnessing my humiliation. They had no idea they were setting the stage for their own. The video, naturally, went viral within their corporate bubble. Jasmine came home from school, her eyes red, clutching her phone. "Dad," she choked out, "my classmates are sharing a video of you on TikTok. They're saying horrible things." That was it. That was the last straw. I held her close, told her not to listen, but inside, that simmering anger ignited. Every face that had laughed, every cruel comment, every person who had filmed her humiliation for free entertainment, they were gonna pay. Not with anger, but with something far more powerful. The truth. And the truth, I knew, was a masterpiece waiting to be unveiled. The next morning, Tuesday, I woke up before the sun. The quiet hum of my old workshop, a welcome contrast to the corporate chill of Reid and Associates. I just threw myself into the work. It was the only way I knew how to deal with it, with anything really. When Lena got sick, I poured myself into fixing up our little apartment, making sure every creak in the floorboards was silenced, every leaky faucet repaired. It was a way to feel in control when everything else was falling apart. This felt similar. I had to channel that simmering anger, that deep hurt, into something productive. The next morning, Tuesday, I woke up before the sun. The quiet hum of my old workshop, a welcome contrast to the corporate chill of Reid and Associates. I just threw myself into the work. It was the only way I knew how to deal with it, with anything really. When Lena got sick, I poured myself into fixing up our little apartment, making sure every creak in the floorboards was silenced, every leaky faucet repaired. This felt similar. I had to channel that simmering anger, that deep hurt, into something productive.
Elara? Oh, she was busy. Marcus, her shadow, kept popping up on my feeds. Apparently, she'd started a WhatsApp group called Aiden's Artistic Adventures. Can you believe that? My daughter Jasmine showed me. Her classmates were laughing about it. Day 2, our master craftsman is probably still trying to figure out which end of the hammer to use, Elara had written, followed by dozens of laughing emojis. Then Chloe from marketing chimed in. I bet he's given up and is at the nearest bar. And Gary from finance, or maybe he realized this isn't the place for people like him. It was a gut punch, hearing that, seeing it all laid out. But deep down, it just solidified my resolve. They wanted a show? Fine. They were gonna get one, just not the one they expected. I spent hours, days, just poring over those blueprints. My workshop, it's not fancy. No gleaming chrome tools, no automated machines like the big firms have. Just my hands, my grandpa's old workbench, and a lifetime of knowing how wood works. I had stacks of old woodworking manuals I'd borrowed from the public library and patent printouts I'd found online. I was trying to figure out what had stumped everyone else, what made this ceiling impossible. And the more I looked, the more I felt it in my gut. Something was off. It wasn't just complex, it was wrong. A crucial joint, designed to bear so much weight, had a subtle, almost invisible weakness. A hairline fracture in the design, a tiny miscalculation in the angle, barely a millimeter off, but enough to eventually bring the whole thing down.
It was deliberate. I just knew it. The pattern, the way it was done, it wasn't an accident. Interesting, I mumbled to myself, my old cell phone camera clicking away, meticulously documenting every single piece of evidence. I was building my own case, piece by painstaking piece. That afternoon, I decided to do something I hadn't done in years. I drove down to the south side, to the old community center where I used to volunteer. Martha Jenkins, she used to run the woodworking program there, taught me half of what I know after my grandpa passed. She's 70 now, sharp as a tack, seen it all. I showed her the photos, the subtle flaws I'd found. She put on her reading glasses, squinted at the screen, and then her eyes, usually so warm, hardened. That kind of structural flaw, Aiden, that's the signature of someone on the inside, she said, her voice low. I know that pattern. I saw it before, about 15 years ago, when someone was trying to derail specific projects to favor other contractors. It was like a light bulb went off. This wasn't just about my humiliation. This was bigger. You know people who still work there, Martha? I asked, a new kind of urgency in my voice. Martha just smiled, that mischievous twinkle in her eye. Son, I know people in places you wouldn't believe, and some of those people are very interested in knowing why landmark projects are being sabotaged. I left Martha's feeling a mix of anger and something else, hope. This wasn't just my fight anymore.
Meanwhile, Elara, she was on a roll. Wednesday, she went full-blown public, called into Chicago Voices, a big local radio show, and just laid it all out. Called me a neighborhood handyman, said I thought I could compete with real design professionals. It's a matter of proper education, she lectured the entire city. Some people just need to learn to accept their natural limitations. I remember driving home, listening to it, and my knuckles were white on the steering wheel. That feeling again, that burning in my chest. But this time, it was mixed with a strange sense of anticipation, because I had a secret, a big one. What Elara didn't know was that on the other side of the radio waves, a woman named Dr. Evelyn Reid was listening. Dr. Evelyn Reid, a renowned structural engineer, a professor at the University of Chicago, and a consultant specializing in forensic architecture and construction fraud. The universe, it works in mysterious ways, right? Turns out, Evelyn was Elara's older sister, though they weren't exactly close. Evelyn, a black woman who had fought her own battles in a world that often tried to put her in her place, had a nose for this kind of thing. Something in Elara's dismissive tone, in the description of the impossible ceiling, set off her internal alarms. Later that same afternoon, Evelyn showed up at my workshop. I was surprised, to say the least. She wasn't dressed in a fancy suit. She was wearing practical work clothes, but there was an authority about her. Mr. Blackwood, she said, extending a hand, my name is Evelyn Reid. I heard about your situation on the radio, and I'd really like to take a look at that impossible design. I sized her up. She looked like someone who'd fought for every inch of respect she had. University professor? I asked, a little skeptical. She just smiled. But today, I'm here as someone who recognizes sabotage when she sees it. That's when I knew. I slowly opened the door to my workshop, finally letting someone else see what I'd discovered. It felt good, letting the truth out, even just a little bit. It was like taking a deep breath after holding it for days. While Elara was busy posting cruel memes and racking up likes, boasting about the Centennial catastrophe event she was planning for Friday, in my workshop, the pieces were falling into place. Every recorded laugh, every poisonous comment, every moment of public contempt, it was all being carefully archived. Not just in my head, but now with Evelyn's help as concrete evidence. Evelyn wasn't just a professor. She'd been a technical expert for the Department of Justice on industrial sabotage cases for 2 decades. And what she saw in my workshop, it confirmed her darkest suspicions.
This isn't just a design flaw, Evelyn murmured, examining the detailed photos I'd taken. It's a specific pattern I've seen before. Someone at Reid & Associates is intentionally creating flaws in projects to inflate costs or divert funds, perhaps even to sell proprietary designs to competitors and sabotage the originals to cover up the theft. Martha, who had joined us, nodded grimly. I've suspected something like this for the last few years, projects that failed too strangely to be coincidence.
Thursday came, and Evelyn walked in with a stack of documents that felt like a ton of bricks. Aiden, I need to show you something. She'd gotten access to Reid & Associates project audit records. 8 major projects over the last 3 years had failed in the exact same way I'd discovered. And the kicker? All of the failures, she said, her voice somber, had occurred on projects led by minority architects or women. When the projects failed, these professionals were demoted or fired. It wasn't just about the ceiling. It was about power, about keeping certain people out, protecting their little club. Martha, God bless her, connected the final dots. And guess who always took over the projects after the failures? She said, her eyes flashing. The same group of privileged architects and designers who are now laughing at you. That night, I worked on the ceiling components with a new purpose. It wasn't just about fixing it anymore. It was about justice. Every cut, every joint, every screw was part of a meticulously documented technical report. Jasmine came in, rubbing her eyes, a cup of coffee in her hand. "Dad, are you sure you want to do this? These people are very powerful." I stopped, looked at her, and then at the project that had become so much more than wood and nails. "You know what your mother always said?" I asked. Jasmine nodded, her voice soft but clear. That the difference between justice and revenge is that justice protects other people from going through what you went through. She was right. This wasn't for me alone. This was for Lena, for Jasmine, and for every talented person who'd ever been told they weren't good enough just because of who they were. The game was on, and I was ready to play. Friday morning, and the air crackled with a different kind of electricity. Not the buzzing energy of the city, but something more predatory. Elara, she showed up at the Grand Centennial Library in this bright red power suit, looked like she was ready to conquer the world, or at least crush me. She had a small, professional camera and a freelance videographer trailing her. "Guys," she announced to her colleagues, who were all buzzing around like excited bees, "in 2 hours, we're going to have some real viral content, the kind of video that teaches lessons about knowing your limits." Marcus was practically bouncing, grinning like a kid on Christmas. "I've already set up the WhatsApp group to share it in real time. This will be a meme in minutes." They really thought they had me. They had no idea. I was already there, tucked away. Evelyn was parked across the street, discreetly, with all her fancy university recording gear. Martha, bless her heart, was at the entrance, filming on her cell phone, looking like she was just waiting for a bus. And me? I was standing next to the neatly arranged wooden sections of the ceiling, a thick envelope in my hand. It held more than just papers. It held the truth. They underestimated me. They under us all. That's the thing about powerful people sometimes. They forget that real intelligence, real grit, doesn't need a diploma or a fancy address. It just is. At 2 p.m., the main hall of the Grand Centennial Library was packed, more crowded than any book launch or poetry reading I'd ever seen there. Elara had pulled out all the stops, over 100 employees, executives, even some important clients, all there for her educational moment about professional standards. The hired cameraman was already broadcasting live on the company's social media. Elara, in that blazing red suit, held this ridiculous little golden hammer, like she was about to crown herself queen of humiliation. Everyone, she beamed into the camera, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. In a few minutes, you're going to witness a valuable lesson about the importance of knowing your limitations. Aiden Blackwood promised to build an intricate ceiling that 5 specialized architectural firms said was impossible. Let's see how that ends. Her voice was sweet as poison. I walked in then, my old toolbox in hand. Just took my time, no rush. My calm, I think it threw her off. Evelyn, she slipped in right behind me, quiet as a shadow, her camera already rolling. "Ah, our master craftsman has arrived," Marcus shouted, and the crowd chuckled. "Where's the hard hat? You can't build a masterpiece in dirty overalls." I ignored them. I walked straight to the wooden sections. My hands, they just knew what to do. I started connecting the pieces, fitting them together with a precision that was almost surgical. The hall went quiet, just the muffled chuckles from a few folks who still thought this was a joke. I worked in silence, letting my hands do the talking. Every joint clicked perfectly. Every piece slid into place. It was beautiful, even incomplete. Then I turned to the crowd. "Before we begin," I said, and my voice, it echoed through that big hall, clear and steady, "I'd like everyone to see something interesting I discovered during the construction process." Elara's brow furrowed. This wasn't in her script. I pulled out my old cell phone and connected it to the portable projector Evelyn had lent me. The screen lit up. This ceiling didn't just break because it was impossible to build. It was deliberately sabotaged. The first image flashed up, a close-up of that crucial joint, the one with the subtle, surgically precise weakness. "Look here," I explained, my voice calm, almost clinical. 3 key stress points were intentionally compromised to simulate natural structural fatigue. The pattern is too specific to be a coincidence. A nervous murmur rippled through the crowd. You could feel the shift, like the air suddenly got thicker. Elara tried to jump in, her voice shrill. "This is ridiculous. You're making excuses for your incompetence." "Interesting that you mention incompetence," Evelyn interrupted, stepping forward, a thick folder in her hand. Her presence commanded attention. Dr. Elara Reid, structural engineer, professor at the University of Chicago, and former Department of Justice expert on construction fraud. The name hit Elara like a brick. Her eyes went wide. What is going on here?" she stammered.
I kept going, projecting more images. Each case of sabotage occurred on projects led by minority architects or women. When the projects failed, these professionals were demoted or fired. Then Martha, bless her heart, emerged from the crowd, a stack of papers in her hand. "Guess who always took over the projects after that?" she said, her voice clear and strong. 40 years working in this industry has given me a lot of information. Elara, you and your group have received promotions and bonuses totaling over $1.5 million over the past 3 years, always after taking over projects that mysteriously failed. Elara was visibly shaking now, her face pale. "You can't prove anything. This is defamation." I smiled then, for the first time in 5 days, a real smile. "Oh, I can." I looked at Marcus, who was trying to blend into the crowd. "Marcus, do you remember the video you made imitating me, mocking my background?" His eyes darted around, panicked. "What you didn't know is that my daughter recorded everything and saved it before you could delete it." The projection changed to that awful, cruel video of Elara and Marcus mocking blue-collar stereotypes. Gasps, horrified ones this time, echoed through the hall. Some of the important clients, their faces red, started walking out, clearly uncomfortable. This wasn't the show they came for. "And Elara," I continued, my voice steady, "do you remember all those cruel posts in the WhatsApp group? My daughter printed every single one, including your private messages discussing how to cleanse the company of undesirable elements and using creative methods to eliminate competition from diversity.
The screen exploded with devastating screenshots. Messages from Elara talking about weeding out the dead wood, ensuring the right kind of people are at the top. Mr. Sterling, the CEO, he'd slipped in quietly, and his face was a mask of growing horror. Elara, Marcus, in my office. Now. His voice was low, dangerous. Wait, I said, I'm not finished yet. I turned back to the ceiling components. This was the moment. I picked up one of the large wooden sections, perfectly crafted, and with a confident, fluid motion, I lifted and secured it into place. The final piece. It wasn't just working, it was a masterpiece, structurally sound, perfectly balanced, gleaming under the library lights. This ceiling hasn't just been fixed, it's been optimized. I've increased its structural integrity by 15% using techniques that anyone with real practical experience, not just a degree, knows. Elara just collapsed into a chair. Her red suit, once a symbol of power, now looked like a flag of surrender. Tears, angry, humiliated tears, streamed down her face. Marcus stammered, "Jake, we didn't know. It was just a joke." "A joke?" I stared at him, my gaze cold. "You tried to destroy my reputation, humiliate my daughter at school, and perpetuate a system that prevents talented people from growing because of their background? That's not a joke. It's a crime." Evelyn stepped up, holding her microphone out. "The complete documentation of this investigation has already been sent to the Department of Justice, the State Board of Architects, and the press. Elara Reid and Marcus Thorne will face criminal charges of fraud, discrimination, and conspiracy." The silence in the hall was deafening. Elara tried to stand, but her legs gave way.
"Oh, and by the way," I said, turning to her, my voice calm, "about naming a wing after me." I looked at the beautiful, completed ceiling. "Thank you, but I'm going to have to decline. I prefer partners who respect me as a human being." As Elara was escorted out by company security, completely broken and humiliated in front of everyone she had tried to impress, I just stood there, next to the masterpiece I had created. Not just with wood and tools, but with something much more powerful. Dignity, intelligence, and a sense of justice that no diploma could ever buy. 6 months. Man, sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago, and other times it feels like just yesterday I was standing there in that library hall watching Elara Reid being led away. Funny how quickly things can change, huh? They call it the Day of Truth at Reid & Associates now. A pretty fitting name, if you ask me. My new office? It's something else. Glass walls overlooking downtown Chicago. From here, you can see the gleaming towers, the same ones Elara used to design from, only now I'm looking at them from the inside. The plaque on the door just says, Aiden Blackwood, Director of Community Design and Innovation, Reid & Associates. Still takes me a second to process that sometimes. Me, Aiden Blackwood, from the Southside Workshop, leading a whole department? It's wild. Mr. Sterling, the CEO, he didn't waste any time after that day. Elara? Fired for cause, naturally. Last I heard, she's facing some serious criminal charges. Fraud, discrimination, conspiracy. Karma, I guess, has a funny way of catching up. And Marcus, her little shadow, he got the boot too. I heard he's selling used car warranties now, probably struggling to pay off his legal debts. The irony of it all, it's almost too much. They were so terrified I was going to take their place, right? Never even crossed their minds that I'd end up building something entirely new, something much bigger than anything they could have imagined. The company, they didn't just offer me a job. Mr. Sterling went all in. Full funding for my new department. My first big project? A mentorship program. We're connecting experienced local craftsmen, folks like me, with young, newly graduated architects and designers from all different backgrounds. We're already running in 5 states. It's about building bridges, showing these young folks that talent isn't tied to a fancy zip code or a specific university. It's everywhere.
And Evelyn, Dr. Evelyn Reid, she's a specialist consultant for the company now. Goes around investigating and fixing decades of institutionalized discriminatory practices within the industry. Her and me, we've made a pretty good team. Uncovered all sorts of stuff that benefited dozens of professionals who'd been systematically pushed aside just because of who they were. It's like we're shining a light into all the dark corners, and some of what we're finding, it's messed up, man, but we're cleaning it up.
Dad, did you see this? Jasmine burst into my office the other day, tablet in hand, her eyes sparkling. She's 19 now, can you believe it? Studying architectural engineering at the University of Chicago on a full scholarship from Reid and Associates. She's become this recognized digital activist, too. Elara tried to post on LinkedIn about overcoming personal challenges, but the comments? Well, the internet has a memory. I smiled. Elara had tried, bless her heart, to rebuild her image, but those videos, those screenshots, they were everywhere. No reputable architectural firm wanted to touch her with a 10-foot pole. Her name was mud. Martha Jenkins, my old mentor, now a senior consultant in my department, walked in, a stack of reports in her hand. Sales of the new optimized ceiling design have exceeded all projections, Aiden. 3 competing firms have already made offers to license your technology. My design, my wood, my hands, it was happening. And Marcus? I asked, just out of curiosity. Martha gave a wry smile. He tried to sell confidential information from his previous company to a competitor, caught him red-handed, facing federal charges of industrial espionage now. Poetic justice, wouldn't you say? He got caught in the exact kind of trap he used to set for others. Later that afternoon, my phone rang, unexpected. It was the host of Chicago Voices, that radio show where Elara had tried to bury me. Mr. Blackwood, he said, we'd like to invite you to talk about your journey, your new inclusive design program. A lot of people want to hear your story directly from you. I accepted, not for revenge, not to gloat, but because I knew my story, the real one, could actually help somebody out there, someone who feels invisible, undervalued, someone who's been told to know their place. It's about showing them that their place isn't given to them, it's made by them. And sometimes it's made with your own 2 hands, right in the face of everyone who ever doubted you. The radio interview was different, not like the one Elara had done. No drama, no grandstanding, just me talking about my journey, about the new program. The host, he seemed genuinely interested. He asked me straight up, how do you feel about Elara Reid now? I paused, thinking about it. No anger, no bitterness, just a little sadness, really. I don't feel anger, I told him, the words feeling true as they left my mouth. I feel sorry for her. She wasted years of her life feeding prejudices instead of using her immense talent to build something meaningful. The real tragedy isn't what she did to me, it's what she did to herself. And I meant it. She was good, Elara was, smart, but all that talent got twisted up in something ugly. When I got home that night, Jasmine was in the kitchen, humming to herself while she prepped dinner. The smell of something good cooking filled our little apartment, making it feel more like home than ever. She looked up when I walked in, that familiar spark in her eyes. "Dad," she said, leaning against the counter, "there's something I've always wanted to ask you." I leaned against the doorframe, kicking off my shoes. "Shoot, Princess." "That day in the library," she started, her voice a little softer, "when everyone was laughing at you, did you really know you were going to prove them all wrong?" I walked over, pulled her into a hug. My little girl. She'd been through so much, seen so much. "Princess," I murmured, "your mother taught me something important before she died." I held her a little tighter. "She said that dignity isn't about never falling down. It's about how you get back up." I pulled back, looked her in the eye. "And sometimes, letting people underestimate you is the biggest advantage you can have." Just then, my phone vibrated in my pocket. A notification. I pulled it out. It was a Forbes article. The headline read,
Aiden Blackwood, From Neighborhood Craftsman to Architectural Industry Revolutionary, How One Man Turned Prejudice into Progress. I just smiled. 6 months ago, Elara Reid had tried to publicly humiliate me for believing that some people needed to know their place. Today, my place wasn't just my workshop on the South Side. I was helping redefine what place meant for talented people in the industry, regardless of their color or background. Elara, she lost everything: her career, her reputation, her credibility. Marcus, facing criminal charges for trying to sell secrets. But me, I had built something that felt real, lasting, a legacy of fairness, inclusion, and excellence. It proved, louder than any shouting match, that the best kind of revenge isn't about destroying those who hurt you. It's about building something so extraordinary, so genuinely good, that all their small-mindedness, all their hate, all their attempts to tear you down, they just become irrelevant. Because that's the truth of it, isn't it? Sometimes, when privileged people forget that greatness has no color, no social class, they learn the hard way. They discover that underestimating someone can be the catalyst. It can transform a victim into a leader, a moment of humiliation into a revolution, and what looked like an end into an even more powerful beginning. That's the real masterpiece, and it's still being built. Sometimes life throws you a curveball. Or, as we saw in Aiden's story, sometimes it throws you a whole broken ceiling and a crowd of people ready to watch you fall. But what Aiden's journey truly teaches us is that the biggest battles aren't always fought with fists or loud arguments. They're often fought with quiet resilience, with integrity, and with the unwavering belief in your own worth, even when everyone else is shouting that you don't belong. This story isn't just about a craftsman fixing a piece of wood. It's about a man who, in the face of blatant prejudice and calculated humiliation, chose not to shrink, but to expand. He didn't just mend a broken design, he exposed a broken system. And in doing so, he reminded us that true talent, real genius, isn't confined by a diploma on a wall or a fancy job title. It can be found in calloused hands, in a quiet workshop, and in a heart that refuses to be diminished. Think about it. How often do we, or those around us, allow ourselves to be defined by someone else's narrow view? How many times do we let a sneer or a dismissive comment make us doubt our own capabilities? Aiden's story is a powerful reminder that our worth is intrinsic. It's not given by others, and it certainly can't be taken away by their prejudice. When someone tries to put you in a box, sometimes the most profound act of defiance is simply to build something extraordinary right outside of it. It's about understanding that a person's true value is found in their character, their skill, and their humanity, not in their background or how much money they make. Breaking the silence around injustice, standing firm in your truth, and building something positive, that's where real transformation begins, not just for you, but for everyone around you. We hope Aiden's journey resonated with you, sparked something within your own spirit. Have you ever faced a moment when someone underestimated you? How did you overcome it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your stories of resilience and triumph. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like to show your support. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that explore the quiet strength within us all and prove that dignity always finds its way to the top. May you find peace and hope even in life's unexpected challenges.